Here at Two United Fans, we feel it's our job to address issues of grave importance to American soccer.
And we've noticed a troubling trend that we'd like to immediately correct.
It's not soccer, it's football.
This isn't a cleat, it's a boot.
It's not a game, it's a match.
It's not a field, it's a pitch.
They're not the Kansas City Wiz, they're Sporting Kansas City.
That wasn't a joke, it's banter.
They're not idiots, they're wankers.
It's not called a bar, it's a pub.
This isn't a beer, this is a pint, and it's too cold.
You don't say pardon me, you say,
"You what, mate? I'll wreck ya. I swear me, man."
Together, we can make sure that all American ultras are using the proper words to describe this sport.
The very future of American football depends on it.
Welcome to Two United Fans with your hosts, Notch and Kyle.
Welcome to Two United Fans. We're happy to be here today to bring you some more fun new content. Once again, I'm Kyle.
I'm Notch.
And we do have a rather long, very, very interesting discussion for you today. We'll be playing that in just a bit. But first, Notch, over the past weekend, had a chance to talk to some supporters that came up to the Minnesota United game from the Indy 11.
Yeah, the Brickyard Battalion and their subgroup, the Slaughterhouse 19. I had a quick chance to talk to them for about a few minutes. So we're going to take a quick break here in a second and play that interview. Take another break and then get back to the discussion that Kyle was talking about. So stick with us and we'll have some great content for you. This is Two United Fans. There's a truck going by us. Hey everybody, welcome to Two United Fans. I'm here, I'm Notch. This is
David.
Peter.
And these guys have just traveled over to the NSC in Blaine from Indianapolis, and I thought it would be a great idea to have a chat, find out a little more about their supporters' experience and find out what their team is like. So why don't you guys tell me a little bit at first about your supporters group and some of its values?
Well, we're all part of Brickyard Battalion, which is the umbrella group for Indianapolis. We run a separate group called Slaughterhouse 19. It's a subgrouping. Slaughterhouse 19 is dedicated to supporting not only our club but our city as well and making it a better place to be and to live, and just the standards of anti-racism, anti-homophobia, and anti-sexism.
That what you just said made me really happy.
Well, we all love soccer, but also soccer culture. And being from the punk and hardcore music community, a lot of us are really drawn to St. Pauli FC over in Germany and the Bundesliga too. So we saw that and what they were doing, and just were like, that's it, because soccer is such an inclusive sport, and that can get away from people sometimes. So we wanted to create a group that said it doesn't matter who you are, as long as you love soccer. It doesn't matter your age, your sex, your nationality. You can come here, you can sing our songs, and you're one of us.
That makes me smile. That makes me smile a whole lot. That's awesome. So guys, I've never been to your stadium so far. Hopefully that will change on the 11th of October this year.
It's a nice date.
Yeah, it's a great date. So can you tell me a little bit about what to expect, what some of your game day experience is made out of, and yeah, just a little bit more about what you experience on game day.
I think you'll experience America's version of the Velodrome, just because of the weird curved roof we have over in Indianapolis. There's a lot of passion. There's about 1,500 of us in the West End, all yelling the entire game. We believe in a full 90, so if you're not yelling, you need to go somewhere else.
And it's when I first started going to games, or even before the season started, I didn't know what to expect. And it's even as a soccer fan in Indianapolis, I was amazed. I mean, as you know, our record's not that good, but we've sold out every home game. And people still coming back, and maybe that's because it's still novel, but even that wouldn't hold if people saw that we were losing. They want to be here because they want to be here. They're not supporting just a winner; they're supporting a city.
that is actually something I wanted to ask you about, because it is, Indy has a difficult record. It's your first year though, so it's like, and I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed. Like, you guys have a sellout crowd every game. Like, I see those like NASL attendance threads on Reddit, and it's like 10,000 fans, 10,000 fans. 10,000. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what do you attribute that to? Like, the team you have, what do you expect for next year? And just a few thoughts about the like sellout crowd record next year kind of mix.
Well, when it comes to attendance, Indianapolis is a sports city. We have the Colts, we have the Pacers, but we have the new Indy Fuel team, which is a hockey team. We have the Indians, which are a baseball team, and there's a lot of NCAA sports there too. People in Indianapolis love sports. It doesn't matter if it's the Division III college sports or NASL soccer. So they want to see sports. Like, that's plain and simple. And when it comes to next year, as you said, we are a new team, and we're still trying to find our footing. And we have good players. We have great players. Hell, we have a World Cup winner on our team, Claverson. Yeah. Like, I don't think any MLS team can say that. But the part of it is you got to find the players that play as a team. And with our general manager Peter Wilt, I know that's going to happen. That guy is smart. He knows what he's doing. So I have faith in him.
So here's the thing, Dark Clouds, we don't take chants from other groups, so we're not going to steal this one, but I just want to ask you, when you think of your group and some of the creativity and the originality, what's the chant that comes to your guys' head?
Well, when it comes to originality, I would probably say Indiana Uber Alice, which is a Dead Kennedy song, which we reappropriated for Indianapolis.
Can you do like a quick version of it that would be okay for the mic, or is that not going to happen?
Yeah, I can do that. Indiana Uber Alice, Indiana Uber Alice, Uber Alice, Indiana Uber Alice, Indiana. Oh, 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 oh.
Wow, if you guys have like a few thousand people singing that, it's going to be amazing. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for coming down. It's great to meet you. Thanks again for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. I'm Nach. Bye.
2-1 to Indy. 2-1 to Indy.
Oh, yeah. Guys, what do you think are going to be your predictions for this game?
I said 2-1. You put me on the spot. 3-1 Indy. How about that?
A game is going to occur at some point. That's all I'm going to say.
That's my response to it. I don't like predictions. So, cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Two United Fans. Now it's a little bit more of a complex discussion topic, and I'm not going to lie, I was researching this and it became a bit of a beast to discuss. I think Kyle and I, when we were talking about this topic, we thought we could discuss this for hours and hours and hours. So we're going to try to keep it as compact as possible. And it's a discussion about the different identities and conflicts that US soccer fans have to deal with. And let's start with where soccer was about, I don't know, 10, 20 years in the past, where I think it was in conflict with more traditional US soccer sports. You had soccer fans being derided by fans of other traditional American sports like baseball, football, and the common complaint, I think, was that soccer wasn't a real sport. You were a wuss if you watched soccer, if you played soccer. It was less tough. It was a sport for other people, not for American sports fans. And if you were an American sports fan and you watched soccer, I think natural reaction to that was, these typical sports fans are below me. I am more of an elitist. I'm catering and watching a higher level of sport that these other folks just don't get. So I think soccer fans in this country received a reputation of being elitist, of being, or at least thinking that they were more intelligent than other fans. There was a recent New York Times trend piece that had a lot of this kind of language, which, I'm not gonna lie, made me cringe, you know?
Yeah, it's painful. It brought up a lot of the worst stereotypes that I think has put people off from soccer in this, in the recent times when soccer's been booming in America, stating that, it is for only the super smart professors who drink their scotch and watch their soccer. And it's
I think the language that they used was the thinking fans sport. And let's not kid ourselves. This is actually what some, not all, or not even most, but some American soccer fans see themselves as being the more distinguished connoisseurs of sport. and it's a natural reaction. I don't want to say it's not warranted either. So anyway, so you got this kind of tradition that you've established, and when American soccer fans then having this identity of being more elitist, of being more intelligent coming through, and they were looking to strengthen their identity, what they looked to was countries with bigger history of soccer, with more tradition, things that they wanted to incorporate. And so they brought in European traditions, South American traditions into the American soccer culture.
Some of those traditions specifically being tifos, which, if you don't know what a tifo is, it's a display, a physical display of support for your team at a stadium. A lot of times this takes the form of a giant banner that you'll hoist over all the fans, and it'll have a picture or words. In our case, we've done giant puppets, which is awesome. But it can be flares. It's just something physical that the fans of a team show the team that we're here to support you, we're behind you. There is also the standing aspect of the sport, especially in the supporters areas where you are expected to stand the whole game. There is cheering, and a lot of American sports do have loud stadiums. I think it's this past year, I believe, the Seattle Seahawks set the record for the loudest stadium. That noise typically takes on, go team. Nothing wrong with that. I love that. But it's the organized chanting that you find at soccer matches. So those are taking songs and making them into chants about your team. Original ideas. Something happens the day of it. It's,
and just to jump in here, this was something that occurred organically at soccer stadiums around the world, where you didn't have a supporters group that was distinguished from the rest of the stadium that was doing these things. This would be something that fans over decades and decades decided that there was someone who decided, I want to put up a huge banner and I want to display my affection. I'm going to get a bunch of fans with me who do this. I want to sing because I'm a little drunk and I want to sing these pub songs that I have in the stadium. And then everybody around those fans started singing. Now American soccer comes in where it's this abrupt start to a culture almost, and I think the folks who've been in the stands for 20-30 years will disagree with this abrupt nature, but let's not kid ourselves. The explosion in growth has been somewhat abrupt. Minnesota United saw this last year, where our numbers went up 1,000 in terms of average attendance. Our supporter section went from being 20 guys in the mid-2000s to being hundreds today. So this abrupt change occurred where these traditions, which are organically created in other parts of the world, found themselves being appropriated by American supporters groups.
Yep, and I think it's the supporters groups, which is the last part that we grabbed. That's the overarching idea, the ultras, as they're sometimes known, which are the extreme fans of a team. And these are the people who, in other parts of the world, organically create, like you said, these banners, these songs. And a lot of these things came in America to fill a void almost. There's this rapid expansion, and something had to fill it.
I mean, I will say honestly though that in an American stadium you have the supporters group and the rest of the crowd, which is quieter. I would say that in my perception of soccer around the world, you have the ultras, who are the violent, who are the folks who are just all out, and they have some laudable things that they always sing for their team 90 minutes no matter what, and they have all this other stuff that they do, but they also have some very negative characters. So the rest of the stadium isn't quiet. They do sing, they do things themselves as well. So the distinction between the supporters and the rest of the stadium, or the ultras and the rest of the stadium, they're very different things, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, and that's some of the negative, I think, that you're getting into that can be drawn into the American culture that people have grabbed onto. And this is getting into the meat of what our discussion really is about here, which is the appropriation of these international historical themes that have developed in supporters' culture for soccer and enjoying the game compared to the individuality. If you do look around the globe at each of these different leagues, you'll absolutely recognize it's soccer being played at each of these leagues. but they do all have very different cultures. And here in America, we have such, at this point, a blend of a lot of the cultures. And what you'll find is that a lot of the blend that we have comes from people who support it for very different reasons.
I think the main thing is that, you know, you find that there are folks who are there because they want to watch soccer. There are folks who are there because they want to watch local soccer. There are folks who are there because they're big fans of European soccer and just trying it out. And there are conflicts within these groups. Last episode we talked a lot about the conflicts between the quote-unquote Euro snobs and the quote-unquote local soccer fans. I wish there was a derogatory term I could use to describe those folks. Arrogant asses, I think, is one of them.
I think it's what we used.
Yeah. So I think you know you have these folks who are both soccer fans who both look down on each other. The Euro snobs are saying you're watching a lower skill of game. The local soccer arrogant asses are saying, oh, but you're not supporting the local soccer scene. And so there's this identity conflict between two groups of soccer fans, and you really have to think about, also go back to appropriation, the concept of appropriation. When you take pieces of another group, in this case European or South American or what have you, soccer fans, and you take that into your own fandom's identity, you lose sight maybe of who you are as soccer fans yourself. You're saying, let's do this because they do it. And you're losing sight of, should I do this, and is it doing anything here? Which is the big question. Why are you choosing to do a tifo? Why are you choosing to chant? Is that because it's what someone else does? Or is that because it has some effect on the team that's playing in front of you here in America? And I think that's a big question that a lot of US soccer supporters need to ask themselves. Am I being violent? Am I hating other soccer teams because I'm supposed to, according to the rules established in other countries? Or are you doing it because there's some real reason for you to do so? You know, the Dark Clouds, for example, we don't cuss, we're not violent folks. That's part of the core values of the organization. And to me that just makes sense. We don't have those religious, ethnic, cultural, class conflicts that define us. Like, I don't see the fans of the New York Cosmos as being, you know, some radically different group that has been oppressing me or that I need to oppress or is inferior to me. You know, I don't feel the need to hate them as such, right?
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that's where things get clouded sometimes in this discussion, where right and wrong gets brought up a lot, and people always like to think there's a right way and a wrong way to do something. And when it comes to the you know, the class warfare, the racial warfare, anything like that, that's what some of the American spectators will sometimes latch onto immediately and can see as a negative aspect of soccer culture. Where then some of the more minor, and I personally think that you can't attribute right or wrong to how you support your team. This may be where we differ a bit in terms of appropriation, where some people have a big problem with that. I think that's personal opinion. That's something that your supporter culture figures out. But when people see this negative, ultras, violence, racism that goes on, and they tie them together, and they can hate soccer as a whole for those reasons, and can say you're wrong on everything that you're doing about soccer for those reasons.
I mean, here's where I disagree with you a little bit. I think you can draw a little bit of a line with when it comes to particularly something like violence, where it's like, I don't think violence has any place in US soccer tradition. I don't think you have any parts of this nation that have a violent tradition against another part of this nation today. Sure, if this was right after the Civil War, you could say that. If you had a team that was formed along racial lines, there is super, you know, charged history there, but we don't. American soccer has, blessedly, I think, been a more inclusive sport in that sense. So you don't have those like big lines. And I have seen, you know, in the stands that I have visited, folks from a whole different variety of nations. I think the biggest line, to be perfectly honest, that I've seen drawn in a stand is between the let's say that the folks I was talking about before, the elitist, intelligent folks, and then the folks who are the bros, you know, to use pejorative term for both of those groups. They're basically folks who are more traditional fans and folks who see themselves as more of intellectuals. And those are the conflicts that I have seen. Honestly, there are no teams that embody those two conflicts yet, are there?
No, I wouldn't say so. I say both those people are in the stands. I would say the incumbents, for lack of a better term, are the intellectuals who think of the sport as being better and them liking it, and sometimes them being some of the few who like it as them being able to own that. Where now, as it's becoming more popular, you do have the bros, if we will use that term, and to be honest, that's probably something that if I had to pick one of the negative categories, I'd probably fall into. I'm, like I said in some of the other videos, I was more of a traditional sport type of a guy.
Yeah.
Coming into this group, and I've been lucky enough that Minnesota United is a very inclusive supporters group. But there is definitely a difference in the fan culture, in what people value, in why they enjoy the sport. And it's hard to sometimes come up with your own ideas in that atmosphere when some people are supporting it for very different reasons.
Let's take the Dark Clouds as an example. One of the things that I think the Dark Clouds have another core value of is originality and creativity. We do not appreciate when someone comes in and says let me dial it back for a second. I shouldn't say we. I think there are elements of the Dark Clouds who don't appreciate when someone comes in and says that I have a chant that the Portland Timbers are doing that I really like and that I'd like to bring in. I think the thing that people say is that no, we shouldn't be doing it just because they're doing it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think there's something to be said about that, because when, again, as I said, when you appropriate too much from someone else, you lose your own identity. But then again, there's another part of me that says, if it's something that we would enjoy doing, that would help our cause, is that necessarily a bad thing? And this is a gray area, right? There's no right or wrong. I don't think you can be hyper original or hyper derivative. I think or rather you can be that way, but it's not healthy to be either. I think there needs to be a mix. And where that mix, the line between the two is drawn, has to be organically decided by every supporters group. And the Dark Clouds have set one up for themselves. I know I've chafed against it. I know there are other new fans who chafe against it all the time because they're enthusiastic. They want to come in and contribute something right away, and they want to bring in something from outside. And something succeed, something don't. And I respect that. I respect what the section or the stand or the supporters group wants as a cohesive organization. I think another topic, just to move along a little bit, that kind of brings in again some of these lines, is the support for the United States national team. I have to say, as someone who's not from this country, coming in, Americans seem to have a very complicated attitude towards patriotism and supporting their country's teams. Is that something that, I mean, you've perceived?
Yes, and although I can't speak to exactly why it's occurring, I can speculate and maybe state a few reasons why I can see personally it being troublesome sometimes. And a lot of them recently are because of international conflicts. I won't go into any more about that, but I think everybody knows that, you know, America's been involved in some things that people have strong opinions about, both extremely positive and extremely negative. And the people who see it as extremely negative have almost got a negative reaction to people who then support the nation, who go out and say USA, USA. They see those individuals, or those individuals maybe just perceive themselves as being seen as supporting some of the negative interactions that America has had in the world recently.
And I mean, just to give you a counterpoint to that, you know, from my country, we have a long-standing conflict with another nation militarily and culturally, and that has actually emboldened patriotism. Mm-hmm. And so it's something that we wrap ourselves in some way. And now we're getting into like huge social science related topics that we could again write a lecture about and have a 300-person class with tests and TAs grading papers. But so let's not get down that rabbit hole. But I think there is this conflict within the U.S. soccer supporters group of again, and then again, when you bring in folks who are elitist and intellectuals and you put them in the same stand as the bros, and then you have these two groups who are again varying degrees of comfort with their nationalism, again you have conflict.
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, I'll just give one example here, and maybe I'm giving up a little bit too much about myself here, but I'm a Roman history nerd. I study ancient Roman history as a hobby. And the Romans were people who really, the strength of their empire was brought up because they conquered a lot of different groups, but every time they conquered a group, they were very inclusive. They brought in the people that they conquered, they integrated them within Roman culture, and they took out the best parts of the traditions of that group, the new weapons that they found, the new tactics that they found, the new religions. They were very open to that kind of thing. At the same time, though, at their core, they never lost track of the Roman sense of self, the Roman government, the institution, the history, the culture was very strong at its core. So even though you brought in and appropriated all of these other elements and cultures, you never lost sight of the fact that at the end of the day, you were Roman. This hopefully isn't as stupid as maybe I'm thinking that some people might find it. I think it's a poignant reference, but I think the Dark Clouds are kind of like that. You know, you bring in soccer supporters from other places, and sometimes they come in and they, they're new, or they come in from different teams, different sports, different histories, and they want to give something. And it's up to us to remember that we have a core that we respect of who we are as Dark Clouds, what our history and culture makes us out to be. We don't swear. We are not violent, we are inclusive, and we support our team no matter what. Those are our core values, I believe, as I've understood them as part of the Dark Clouds. I'm not part of the Dark Clouds leadership or anything like that. This is just, my perception has been that those are the four things that this organization respects. So within those four things, holding on to them as a core, what are these other things that these new people are bringing in that fit or don't fit with that? But I think being one way or another, saying all the new stuff is awful, let's stick to what we have. Or saying all the old stuff is terrible, we need something completely new. Both of those things are wrong points of view, and I think you really need a mix.
Yep. I agree, and it's bound to create tension. I think that's maybe the one thing we've hit on with each individual topic in this very, very broad. I know we were all over the place here, but if I personally want to leave this discussion with one thing, and we hope you all will continue to participate when we put this up on Our Minnesota on Reddit, or if you want to tweet at us on Twitter, love to have the discussion with you. But the one thing I want to leave this with is about being prepared and being able to handle tension. Being from business, I know that one thing that can create innovation is creating some tension, creating interactions that can be hard between people. Different groups, the elitists and the bros, interacting with different ideas. It's going to create tension within our supporters group, within any supporters group, any fan section that you have. And it's knowing that. It's accepting that. It's being open to a new idea while still retaining your identity. And as Nas did a good job, drilling down to what your identity is. Your identity is not a chant. It's not a banner. It's not being violent. Those aren't identities. Those are things that have been done in the past. I think that's the one thing that we want to leave you with, is that this change that will happen, it's going to keep happening, can be good, but at the same time, I think we both would say that it's something that you need to hold on to your traditions at the core as well.
And just to take another point that I would like hopefully some people to address, again, I'm coming at this from a very different standpoint than most folks who have who are fans of American soccer, is that I think it's okay to have American soccer traditions. Our sketch touched on this a little bit. You don't have to use particular words. You don't have to have European team names. You don't have to do X, Y, and Z because it's been done somewhere else. And I'm just going to put myself out there and say I love Minnesota United's mascot. I think it's great that American teams have mascots. I think it's cool. A lot of people will disagree with me on this, but I think it's one of those things where we can be open to different ideas because they are from who we are, and who you are is Americans, and you should embrace that. I don't think you should be trying to fit yourselves into a box that has been created in other nations, no matter what it is, whether that's promotion and relegation, whether that's a winter schedule, whether that's being violent, whether that's having a bandana over your face and being an ultra. You don't need to do those things. You can just be who you want to be, and whatever makes the most sense and helps you have the most fun and makes your team win. At the end of the day, that's what we want, right? We want to have fun and we want to see our team win. I think that's why I go to games. I participate in the Dark Clouds because I think that being part of a group and makes me have the most fun, and the Dark Clouds make the Minnesota United, or the Minnesota United, they make Minnesota United win, you know? So that's where I stand. So maybe this is another little bit of a discussion prompt that I think people can take up a little bit. But anyway, I think we've gone way over the time that we had allotted for this discussion. Next week we'll have another great episode for you, some new segments of video for you to watch as well that we've been filming and collecting over the last week or so. Yeah. Come back, keep watching, follow us at 2 United Fans on Twitter, find us at our Minnesota United on Reddit. You can also email us at 2unitedfans@gmail.com. Probably a carrier pigeon could find us somehow, right?
Yep. I've got a cage on my roof. It's waiting for your carrier pigeon.
Excellent. Well, I'm Nach.
I'm Kyle.
This has been 2 United Fans.
Thanks,
See you,
guys.
everybody.